All right, everybody, welcome back. Super excited to have Dr. Brian Harris of Smile Virtual on today. Brian and Craig and I go way back to the days of Brian. I think last time we saw you was at AACD. I know you've been heavily involved there, but it seems like everyone in dentistry knows who you are, so we don't have to sit here and give the windup of who you are and what you've done. But you're based in Scottsdale. You've grown this digital virtual platform massively, bigly, and your Instagram has followed in suit. I kind of looked at your Instagram the other day and I was like, holy shit, how many followers does this guy have? So anyway, what we're going to do for those of you listening, we're basically going to do a 2-part series because Brian is a master in obviously creating a software, but he's also a master in kind of the whole windup, the whole patient experience from before the doors open in an enrollment situation, right? For cosmetics or I guess anything really, Brian, right? And then kind of how the science of enrollment in part 2. So it's going to be a 2-part series here. So anyway, Brian, this is a long time overdue. I think you hold the record for how long we had to schedule this pod out due to your schedule. So that probably speaks volumes to your life. Well, so anyway, welcome to the show, bud.
Thank you. And it's an honor to be here. I mean, I think we do go way back, all of us, and it's been really cool for me too, just to sit back and watch the two of you like grow something amazing and impact the lives of so many doctors. So I think this will be great. You know, I'm just excited to spend a couple hours with you guys and share as much as I can to help impact the lives of those that follow you. And
this is one of my favorite topics, and Craig knows this. I talk about it a lot with him, but like Brian, I think being good at what we're about to talk about in these next 2 pods is the great differentiation or the great differentiator of when you see dentists who just absolutely crush it versus some that are just kind of moping along, getting along. They're great dentists, but they're just kind of getting along. But when you master this skill set that we're about to talk about, Craig and I talk about it all the time. It's like, it just takes you, it just puts, steroids on your practice. And then, I don't know. It's do you have anything to add to that, Craig? I mean, we talked about it being the great differentiation.
Look, I think there's a lot of dentists out there that are phenomenally talented. They're incredibly gifted at what they do, but they lack the other portions of their skill set to enroll patients and to help patients understand what they can do. And unfortunately, they're failing. Mm-hmm. And we know the converse. We know people who are not really that great at what they do, but they're phenomenal at enrolling patients. So it takes the trifecta. You got to be good with what you do, good at enrolling people, and really good with your team to become a successful dentist. It's not just a meritocracy of skill, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Brian, before we hit record, Craig was asking you kind of some specifics about your individual ecosystem, and then you were like, hey, this is good fodder for the pod, like your wind up. So you're based in Scottsdale. Scottsdale for a while seemed to be, and you correct me if I'm wrong, oversaturated with cosmetic dentists. It seemed like every corner had a cosmetic dentist. And I was like, man, I remember going out there because, Scottsdale is like the CE mecca of dentistry. It felt like, or it was for a while. Yeah. I remember going out there, circa 2010 and being like, man, I'm glad I don't practice here. Like it's a cosmetic dentist on every corner.
Cosmetic dentistry, like Salt Lake City is to dental technology. It's like it's all happening. It seems software. Like every dental software is like in Salt Lake City. True. I would not want to be like a newbie AI software in Salt Lake City.
So give us the wind up there, bud.
Yeah. So I mean, background, quick story is my dad started the practice in '79. Early 90s, totally burned out, still a fantastic dentist, but burned out with what he was doing. And
how long? So sorry, Brian, this is really, I want to interesting about this. At what age in his career or how long in his process did you feel him burning out?
And what were the symptoms of it?
I mean, so he started practice 79 and it was like early 90s. So I mean,
20 years.
Think about it. I actually
less.
Nobody's ever asked me that question, and I've never thought about it that way. Applying it to like where some of us are in our career and like when that burnout happens. But yeah, so I mean, you think it was that what?
15. So the reason I asked that, I didn't mean to take us off. I told Craig, I was like, let's keep this on track today. But like, this is important because we, as you know, we've trained hundreds of dentists in a mastermind curriculum. And Craig is really good at kind of peeling the onion and getting to what they want, right? Versus like, I'm going to conquer the world. And it's like, well, I really just don't want to do dentistry anymore sometimes. And I see this inflection point being about 14, 15, 16 years, somewhere in that point. It's like, I'm tired of doing dentistry, right? And not everyone. There's some people who are on fire, hair on fire. They want to do dentistry till the day they die, and that's great. But I see it a lot. Craig, do you see that? What remember we've talked about that, like that being kind of the median age for people being like, "Holy shit, I'm beat up."
You know, I don't see the trend. You're just probably better at spotting trends. I don't see the inflection point at 14 years. I do see a pandemic of burnout in our profession. Whether it happens right out of school or 20 years down the road or whatever. But yeah, I do unfortunately see more of it than other professions. A lot of regret.
So Brian, I hijacked you where you were going, and I apologize, but like I would have not have come back to that. So please keep going. So your dad, 79.
No, I'm glad you did it. It made me think about it differently too. So yeah, early 90s, there's the first ever live patient cosmetic dentistry course being offered at Baylor Aesthetic Continuum. So, I think it was his Patterson rep at the time was like, hey, take this course. And it was expensive. And he was like, should I not? He decides to take it. So I think that's like his pivot point of like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to invest in myself. Well, he goes and he ends up being roommates. He shares a hotel room with Howard Fran of Dentaltown. And so you can imagine that experience. They both have 4 boys. They're both passionate about dentistry. So they stay up all night, talking about dentistry and they both walk away from this course like completely changed because they see this idea of what's possible and other people around them that are like, no, let's go chase this. And so, he went on to then form the first live patient cosmetic course at LVI, which then turned into PAC Live. He taught there for a number of years. So I share that story because it's important to my story. I was in early high school days at that time when I see my dad burned out and then pivot and then what it does to his life. That's what made my older brother want to be a dentist. And that's what made me want to be a dentist. My younger brother, Scott, was like, hey, maybe I should be a dentist. My youngest brother started a dental lab. So that pivot point for him creates this massive pivot for me to decide to go into dentistry.
So cool. Such a cool story. So how old, by the way, a very similar thing happened to me. My dad's a dentist, started the practice in 1976.
And granddad.
Yeah, my grandfather as well. And I never wanted to be a dentist. And then like in the when I was in college, my dad took his rundown beat up office and expanded and moved to a different part of the building. And it was a modest expansion, but it like really set off like this idea of like, wow, maybe I could just revolutionize and do something totally different. If my dad did this, he went from like Brady Bunch interior to like something a little bit nicer. My brain got kicked off and I'm like, I could build this crazy, like almost Apple store of dentistry, and excited me the same way, by the way. So what a parallel.
Yeah. I mean, it's, so the story continues. Like I go to dental school. We all went to UOP. We all were 2 years apart in school, and I graduate and start the practice, go from 1. We're like, hey, we're crushing it in this 1. Like, let's do 2. Oh, if we're going to do 2, let's do 5. So I went down that path of, and then sure enough, that 2017. So that would be 12 years out of school and I'm fried, just burned out. And I'm like, I don't know that I can keep doing this forever. And that was kind of right when everything with Smile Virtual really started, kind of what I call the awakening for me, where I woke up and was like, oh, there's a better way to do this and a more efficient way. So that's kind of that backstory of how I got to my burnout and then what I decided to do to get out of it.
But you're still practicing, you speak about that. You're still clinically practicing a dentist, correct?
I freaking love it. I really do. Yeah, I'm still. So I only do smile designs. I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, long days. But yeah, I mean, I'm still,
So you went from being burnt out to loving it again. And I think that
I'd love to hear what
the
that,
hope, because everyone thinks once you're burnt out, like that's a wrap, right? So tell us how you got back on the
well, if you don't mind, just back up a layer. So you're one practice, two practice, three practice, and you're like, hell, I can't do this anymore. You can't do what specifically? What was happening?
Yeah, so I got to that point where we had 5 offices. I was in my main office, but then I was doing, a day in some of the other offices, keeping them going. And what people don't realize when you're growing practice, and you guys know this because you've been a part of this game too, is it changes the game. You go from being like an artist, a clinician, relationship based, to now like, a businessman, a businesswoman. And now it's all about EBITDA, and it's about management, and you got to hire these different layers of management now. And so, yeah, it's great. It's great seeing the money in the bank account. But for me, it just took all the fun out of what I enjoyed about dentistry, and it made it more about money. Money is just a weird conversation because people have always said, well, yeah, just wait, you buy that first 911, then you realize it's not all, what it's cracked up to be. And in my head, I'm always like, yeah, well, I still just want to buy that 911.
Yeah.
And, but that's kind of what happened. I got to that point. I think I was on my third Porsche by that time. I was like, okay, maybe they were right. Maybe it's not, it's not all, it's not just all about, how much we make. So much of it is like, how do you like make a great living, but also love
what you're doing
at the same time.
Yeah. I think this is such an important conversation, Brian, because there's a very loud narrative in dentistry that you're supposed to do exactly what you did. You're super successful in your domain, your practice, and everybody's in your ear like, dude, you got to expand. Like, what are you doing? Like, you got to leave the chair. You got to do this. You got to do that. And you wind up practice number 2, practice number 3, and it's a total different dynamic. And I always say, my dad loves dentistry. He never got burnt out. He's 84 years old. I went to dinner with him last night. He's like, I miss clinical dentistry. So encouraging my dad to open up 3 offices would have led to his demise. So that's beautiful that you did what you were supposed to do. And you went back and said, you know what, I can reinvent and go back to what it is, because being a dentist is very different from being a business owner. And if you're an artist like yourself, when you delegating to other dentists to do it, it hurts your soul to see what the 2-year guy out of school is doing under your name and your brand. It's painful.
Yeah, I think, Craig, to piggyback on that, I think very few dentists are built for scale, right? I think we go into the craft, just like you're saying, Brian, like I want to work for myself. I want to be a craftsman and artist, and I don't want a boss kind of thing. And then, like you said, Craig, this dialogue goes in later, and then it hijacks your a little bit your happiness by you. Oh, I got to expand. I got to do all these things. I got to be a businessman. And we found time and time again that not everyone is built for this, right?
And look at what we were talking about yesterday, Peter. Peter and I had a conversation just offline, and we have the same exact conversation what he just said. I said, Peter, you and I are not, average. We have a little bit more grit. We're willing to eat more glass. And we're just kind of like have this chip on our shoulder, both of us, especially when we were younger. But it almost killed Peter, and it almost killed me. Just being honest. Mm-hmm. The process that we went through almost killed us. Like, we had dark thoughts. We were in a bad place, and we persevered through it. And would I want my own son to go through what I would? I mean, everybody wants to be maybe where you are now, but would you be willing to do what we did? And it's just not for everybody. And I don't mean that in some sort of like hustle porn way, say like, oh, look at us. I'm just saying, like, you got to know yourself. You got to pursue what's right for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations for you to go through the motion and be like, yeah, this is cool. 4th Porsche, good. Let me go back and do it. And by the way, at 3 days a week at a level that you're at, your job, yeah, you have a job, but LeBron James has a job. It's just a freaking really good job. You get paid so well. The incremental benefit for more work is not necessarily worth.
And you're fulfilled, right? You just said you love it. Like, and that was authentic. So like that is our hope, really at Bulletproof, that's our hope and dream is that everyone finds their authentic.
Yeah. You do you.
Fulfillment kind of thing. And so we spend a lot of time, Brian, in our mastermind with like, and people kind of don't want to, because they want to get to the marketing hacks, but like Craig really spends time with them. It's like, hey, let's craft the next 5 years of your life in a very gravitationally authentic, or let's have something that pulls you rather than pushes you, kind of thing.
Right.
Pushes you.
And the funny thing is, and I'll let Brian, because I want to just, I don't want to
Becoming a guest
No,
listener.
this is great. I'm loving this.
When I ask dentists what they want, it's always the same. I want to make $1 million a year. And I say, well, what do you spend right now? And the average dentist will tell me like 200, 300, whatever. And I'm like, well, why $1 million then? Like, why not? If you spend 300, why not 400 or 500?
So
why
arbitrary.
$1 million? So it's just this arbitrary thing. And then they suffer because they don't have what they want. And by the way, Porsche's story, funny enough, I wanted to say this. I've had 5 911s. My buddy was really into 911s. One of my associate doctors bought a Porsche. I drove it. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to buy a 911. Bought this 911, brand new, amazing. 6 months later, I'm driving it so infrequently that I go to put my key and start it. The battery's dead. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I don't even care. I sold it. And it was the best feeling ever to sell it because I turned that into like an investment that produced, but you're so right. So those young people that are listening to just try to get to that certain like mark of success, it's not all it's cracked up to be. If you gave me a 911 right now, I'd sell it. And I loved them.
You want the Porsche when you can't afford the Porsche. When you can afford the Porsche, you don't want the Porsche.
Well, you want what the money will return for you because it's like 180 grand. I'm like, you know what that can do for me?
How many of us had, Lamborghini posters when we were growing up as 8-year-olds on our wall, right? And now you're like, I could buy a Lambo. And you're like, I don't want a Lambo.
Well, it was a Lambo with Bo Derek on it, though.
That's true. That's true.
So
That's
it's like,
true.
You didn't know.
All
what
right,
you had
Brian. So walk us through, I said this was going to be the masterclass. So walk us through this grow with confidence, right? Because I alluded to the fact that this is probably one of the most important aspects. And so walk us through like why the importance of what happens to patients before they physically enter the practice, right? And maybe how this was the genesis to Smile Virtual.
Yeah. So the reason, when we were talking about like, hey, what do we want to talk about on this podcast? The reason I thought this idea of grow with confidence is because I know so well that feeling, and I know so many others do, of what it feels like to not have confidence in your growth strategy, meaning to feel like out of control of your own success. And what it felt like for me was, we used 12 different consultants over the years. I went to all the courses. Everybody was teaching tactics, strategy, verbiage to use in the chair to like convince people to buy into treatment. And I never felt like I was in control. I felt like I would see a new patient on the schedule and be like, okay, don't mess this up. Like, don't over talk, just go in, build a relationship with them and get them to like you. And then, try to present something without them feeling like you're overselling them. And then you walk out and then you're just like, I hope my treatment coordinator doesn't screw this up. They better close this because, they're ready to buy. And I didn't like that feeling because I felt like I couldn't control my own success. And so this idea of grow with confidence, where it started was me first recognizing like, and the way we do things is really broken from the standpoint of we're spending all these marketing dollars. We're getting people to come into the practice, but we're walking in to meet them. They've never met us. They have no idea the kind of work that we do. We have no idea what they really want. We've never seen their smile. It's like when you think of just purely from a sales process, it's a super inefficient process. And we're trying to do our best to connect with them. They're vulnerable. They're, wondering if they're going to get oversold. So just the psychology of that whole process, I thought was just broken. And so what happened was I started posting content on social media. I saw other friends doing it that had different businesses and we can get into all that later of that strategy. But what happened when I did start posting is people would start to reach out, and somebody reached out and, messaged me saying, hey, I hate my smile. I see that this is what you do. I didn't know who this person was. And can you give me some advice? And so my initial thought was, yeah, call the office. I'd love to have you come in and meet with me. And then I recognized like, wait, with technology, I don't have to be face-to-face to be able to share ideas with her. The whole idea of being face-to-face is to build trust. And so they see value in the product that you're offering. I'm like, what if I could just get face-to-face in a video and just send it to her, what would that do? So that was kind of the first video consult I ever recorded. And I remember her name was Kendall. She had a pretty, severe cosmetic issue. And I remember just recording her video saying, hey, I would love to work with you. Yes, I can help you. Here's your options. Here's about what it would cost for each. And when you're ready and comfortable, come in. I'd love to see you in the practice. So a couple weeks later, she came in. And I think that's when it really clicked for me. I mean, initially when I did the video, I'm like, this is great. It allows me to connect with her and create this lead that's going to come into my practice. But when I did go in to meet with her, I'm like, well, wait, she already knows my cost of treatment. She knows what her options are. Just the mere fact that she's there in the chair. It's like all the stress went out the window. I already knew she was going to move forward with something. Now it was just me being present and listening and just asking her the question, okay, now that you've watched the video, what do you want to do? What does your budget look like? Let's come up with the best plan for you.
I thought that is great because you address the psychology of both sides of that, right? And I think so much of people getting what they want is that there's a psychology thing, meaning I've seen so many dentists, quote unquote, unsell treatment because the patients come in with a different bucket of expectations and the doctor's like, what do you mean? I thought you knew. I want to say as a caveat, Craig and I both use this software. We are paying members of the software. And I would say it has categorically changed our revenues and the engagement of all of our doctors because they're excited to get kind of pre-warm some of these cases and get in dialogue with them, Brian. So I want to thank you because actually I had a competitor product circa COVID that we just kind of let happen and no one really used it because it didn't really work the same way. But you've kind of nailed it. And we talked about the competitor product, you and I, but it didn't work. Like no one was really engaged in using it. And it was just kind of like sitting there on our website, not being used. And everyone in my team, all of my doctors, there's 10 doctors that use it. And we they love it. They love it because it's their time equals enrollment, right? Their time on these videos equals enrollment. Craig, you've got kind of the same situation going on.
Yeah, I think I wonder what it is. Look, of all the people that are willing to pursue a consultation for something that they want, there's so much friction and there's so much time that's delayed just because of the physical, process of going in. I mean, listen, as dentists, we put up so much friction. It is it's astounding that we can actually get anything done because you have to come in, you have to get x-rays, you have to go through this whole rigmarole just to have the conversation.
Yeah.
For most dentists, like make it easy. Let the patients come in from the comfort of their own home. And I wonder, and I'm sure you're going to have this data for us, but people, when they're physically comfortable, you're in your living room, you're in a laptop, you have a cup of coffee, you want to give more time. Starbucks figured this out a long time ago. Starbucks created an environment. This is during early retail. McDonald's used to have the chairs connected to the table back in the early 90s. Because they figured when people ate and the chair was physically attached to the table, you're uncomfortable and you'll leave. And at that time it was the 6 billion serve, whatever the heck it was at McDonald's. They wanted to do volume. Starbucks comes around and says, we don't want people to leave. We want people to stay. And if they stay long enough, maybe they'll buy the second cup of coffee or they might go Buble CD or whatever they'll do. But they understood to crack retail, make people physically comfortable. So I wonder if just having the ability to be physically comfortable in your own space, you'll just linger longer, ask more questions, be more engaged. Let's face it, most dentists do their consults while the patient is in the dental chair. And I know that's a comfortable environment for us because we spent, 10, 20,000 hours in that environment. But for them, their legs are up, the light is in their face, they're scary instruments. They don't know what
they're reclined.
They're reclined. They're doing an isometric sit-up. They're literally shaking from that isometric sit-up. And you're just talking about how great the lab work and the margins and the modified bevel. And just like, get me the hell out of here. Yeah. So I think there's obviously the friction of making the call, but also just to have a patient comfortable on their laptop, in their living room. It just got to lead psychologically to a better overall acceptance rate.
It does. And we see it in the numbers and that's the great thing is it's not rocket science. Like when you really look at it, all it really is like you as a dentist, you kind of drop your sales process and you just focus on the buyer's process. You just,
Right.
every time before I record any consult, I've got it written like right up here on my whiteboard. And it's just the word like connection. And so it's not about diagnosing, treatment planning, selling. It's just like thinking from that perspective, like, okay, if I'm going to go through this procedure as a patient, what do I really want? And number one, they do want to know what it costs, so they know if it's even feasible. But they also want to know, like, can I trust this person to do the treatment? Are they going to do a good job? And like what options do I have? Do I have to do all of it? Can I do some of it? And so when I sit down to record consults, and I record every single day, I think I'm over 8,000 consults recorded now for myself personally. But it's just, I sit down and I'm just like, hey, Dr. Harris, like the whole purpose of this video is like, I just want you walking away knowing exactly what's possible, what it's going to cost, if I'm a good fit for what you're looking for, and the next steps. And so, sit back,
So
listen.
simple framework, right? You follow that simple framework.
Yep.
I love that.
That's the idea, is just, so, and the great thing is when it's a pre-recorded and sent video, there is no back and forth. That's one thing I want listeners to understand, is I don't like live FaceTime, back and forth. I mean, the platform's designed so that they can't even respond and ask you questions back. It's intentionally designed that way so that I can give 5 to 10 minutes of my time to people, the best of me, tell them exactly what they want to know. And then when they're ready, they'll move forward.
I'm curious, you've done 8,000. Where would you say is the Goldilocks time of recording, right?
I can tell you.
Okay.
Once you get over like 10, 12 minutes, it's like, it's too much. It means you're explaining too much. There's a Dr. Alan Thomas, who's a close friend of mine. He's probably the best that I've seen at being able to do it like in 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Mine are still probably in that 8 to 10 minute range, but it's like just enough to say like, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's a couple examples, similar cases. Here's how my process works. This is what it's going to cost, and when you're ready, we'd love to work with you. It's like, keep it under 10 minutes.
And Brian, what would you say is and I guess I could get this data from my own in-house, but I've never asked, like, what would you say if you do 100 in a year, let's just use round numbers, how many of those would you actually see physically in your office? Like, what is your success ratio of getting them in?
Yeah, so there's once they're in the practice, it ranges anywhere from 87 and 92%, like
enrollment
forward, like case acceptance on, 10, anywhere from $10,000 to $70,000. So like big cases.
Yep.
So, but from request to actual in the chair, it's about 40%. And every year I go back and look and I say, okay, for every 10 consults that I receive, I'm going to see at least 4 of those in my chair. And some people are like, well, what about those other 6? And the way I look at it, and the way I think everybody should look at it, is, hey, that's 6 more people out there that know who you are,
100%.
know what you do. You did this for free. You didn't charge them, so they have a positive outlook on who you are. And it's 6 more people out there that could be,
and look, you've done this long, Brian, when you've done this as long as the 3 of us, right? And this goes to the younger dentists listening. I can't tell you how many times that I did a consult and then I saw them 4 years later because they weren't ready at the time, but they couldn't unhear or unsee that consultation. So it took them 4 years to either get the money or the time or the courage or the whatever happened in their life, right? And so, yes, I asked you that number because you're like, here's a direct correlation, but I bet you there's a lag effect of that. Meaning, I bet you it's 5 or 6 of those 10, right? But even if, look, so you just said about 8 minutes is your sweet spot, right? So let's say you did 10 consults. That's 80 minutes. Okay. And if I said to someone, hey, if you spent 80 minutes, would that be worth you getting 4 cases ranging from, like you said, 10 to, let's call it $50,000? The answer to that is unequivocally all day, every day. I will do that, right? Because I will do that all day long, right? So the return on time is so there. And I bet you, like you said, once they're in the office, that consultation from that point forward, like Craig is saying, has so much less friction because you've answered a lot of the hard things. So now it becomes, fun and wish based, and let's do this, and we're going to do this. And it's getting them excited about the end result, which you can already see. It's not all these like questions and anxiety and all these things. You've kind of hacked to that already, right?
Yeah, and I don't think, what I'm realizing now, what we haven't really paid so much attention to in the past is that first impression. Like when you start the relationship off, it's The Go-Giver. Have you guys read The Go-Giver? One of the best books, in my opinion, of like
No.
this idea of like, all right, so great read, great for team, but it's just this idea of like, hey, give, before you ask. And the more you give, like people want to naturally reciprocate and work with you. And so when you start the relationship off by serving somebody, because you're giving them 10 minutes of your time and your expertise at no cost, right? And you do that, and that's how the relationship builds. It's fascinating when they actually are in the practice for the in-person consult. There's a lot less questions. There's a lot more trust. And then that translates when you're actually doing the case. There's more trust. And let's say something does go sideways, you can recover a lot easier because the trust
Goodwill
is already there. And, and people are understanding of that because they know, like, you've been with them since the beginning, helping them get what they want. And it eliminates a lot of the
love that
road when you're actually doing the work.
Yeah, that's like one of the Cialdini's. If you ever read the book Persuasion, right? We talk about that in Bulletproof a lot.
No,
Is the law of reciprocity, right? And so you're saying the same thing, like Go-Giver. It's like, hey, you did something, you gave me time without asking anything in return, so to speak, right? And I feel, as a human being, I want to somehow reciprocate back this kindness that you gave. That's how we're all wired. And a lot of times people reciprocate by coming in or enrolling or telling more people about you, kind of thing, right? That's the give back mechanism. But we feel compelled as humans to do something nice in return. So, Brian, talk about things. Okay, so we have this software here. So you mentioned kind of the SEO. So I want to go into, you mentioned like the marketing dollars and the website content and your social media, right? Because I think those are all three things are a funnel to get people to engage in the tech. Is that right?
Correct.
Right. So Craig and I always talk about like the patient experience we think is when the patient sits in your chair. Like, did you give them a cookie? Did you give them headphones? Did you sit? That's not what patient experience is. The patient experience starts when they Google Scottsdale cosmetic dentist, right? And, I'm looking at your reviews, right? Reviews are a part of patient experience because it's a social proof of how you've done in the past. Does the website speak to what I'm looking for? Do the ads resonate? Like marketing is actually part of the patient experience is where I'm going.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned the cookies and the headphones because that was,
I know.
when we all started practice, that was that initial revolution. It was
the Otis Spunkmeyer
and granite countertops and Otis Spunkmeyer cookie ovens in the back. So, and the paraffin, like hand wax dips, like,
hey, easy on the paraffin. My boy likes that still.
Yeah, I do like the paraffin. But
that was because that was new and it was exciting. The problem is now, one, everybody has it, but two, we live in this world, especially with everything that's happening with AI and automation. We live in this world where people are seeking human connection, and the new wow factor is all about trust, transparency, connection, communication, in my opinion. It's like those that are crushing it right now are the ones that are like, hey, let me help you see what's possible, and let me just kind of show you the way, whether we work together or not. Like, let me just guide you along the way. And especially cosmetic dentistry. Geez, like the number of amazing cosmetic dentists out there right now is just, it's mind blowing to me. I can make a list of 50 cosmetic dentists that are 10 years out of school or less that I feel like are doing like better quality work than I am out there. It's crazy. And so now it's not just a game of skill anymore. It's a game of like service and connection.
I like what you said. You used a couple choice words there, Brian. You said, let me guide you. And someone told me a long time ago that cosmetic dentistry is not about, you obviously look at your dad. Your dad was burnt out because he was doing need-based dentistry, and he shifted the gears to want-based dentistry. And want-based dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, is a journey, and it's about leadership. It's like, let me show you what your future will look like. And it, like you said, it's the guide. And when we look at marketing techniques, there's three things: the hero, and the guide, and the person that's the subject matter. But we, as traditional dentists, we made ourselves the hero. Dr. Brian Harris went to the prestigious blah, 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 got the prestigious degree in this, your picture with you folding your arms and like 15, attractive female teammates behind you. And it was like, look at me, look at how great I am. And now it's like, who will win is the one that can show you that I care and I'll guide you to this amazing place. And the biggest thing for patients is we speak dentistry and we somehow undervalue the knowledge we have because it's part of what we do every day. For patients, dental advice is so precious. Like Patrick Bet-David has this platform called Connect, and he put me on it. It's where people can buy a minute of your advice for like whatever, $10. It is amazing how many Connects I get just for dental advice. And when someone tags me on Facebook on one of like the local community pages, I will just go and give as much advice as possible. It's not like, come see me and I'll explain it. I'm like, implants are a great solution, but here's the deal, and here's this, and here's that. Hope this helps. If you need any help, let me know. So it's basically providing value. And as the young dentists that are listening, they may be thinking to themselves, of course, it's easy because Brian Harris and blah, 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 he's got 5 million followers or whatever. But I'm telling everybody, it takes decades to become an overnight success. But the way you become an overnight success is that you consistently add a little bit of value every single day. A person like you does not need to do recordings every day. You got a flywheel that's built, and you're going to be successful whether you do that or not. But there's so many young dentists that are thinking to themselves, like, I don't want to do that. It looks desperate. I don't want to give a free consult. My time's too valuable. And that's the enemy. I mean, there's a lot of people that should avail themselves of technology like this, and they just won't do it because they don't feel like they need to do it. And I look at a guy like you and I'm like, he's got, and it's like you look at your inputs in private, what you're doing. I mean, the fact that you're recording several of these, you're recording more than my doctors. You're recording more than the docs at ADS, I'm sure, right? And he's the one that's already got the thing built, and you're still doing it. So it's just a good lesson for everybody out there that's like thinking to themselves, yeah, cool technology, just not for me. It feels desperate, or it feels like I shouldn't be doing that. What would you say to those people, Brian?
Yeah, I just, the more life experience I get, the more experience in practice I get, I feel like it is like, it's all about flow. The more you put out, the more you really try to help people, the more it comes back to you. And you're right. My schedule's booked out a ways. I don't need to do all of these consults, and I could give them to a team member and say, hey, you do these and just give me the ones that look like they want to do full mouth cases. And sometimes, like I got one 2 days ago for a denture. I don't do dentures. I haven't done them in a long time. But anytime like I see something like that come through and I have this moment of like, do I want to do this? I'm like, no, yeah, you're going to give 2 or 3 minutes of time, because what it took for somebody to be vulnerable and to send a photo and type all that out. And like, you can give them a few minutes of your time and just say, hey, I don't do this, but here's what you need to look for. Find somebody in your hometown. If you want to tell me, shoot me an email. I'll give you a couple names. Just something about just like giving like that.
Is it like a karmic thing almost? Like, do you have this spiritual belief of like it's my responsibility to give and it just comes back around? Because most dentists would not do this. It's an interesting thing that you do, and I love that you do it. But most dentists, and we work with a lot of them, they're just like, I don't want to call the patient at the end of the night, and that feels like, I'm desperate. And it takes
I don't
want to
ask for reviews or referrals. I don't want to ask
for a review.
That's great. That's groveling.
Yeah. I do think there's some component to it. And I think it's, whether you call it karma, whether you call it, whatever you call it, I think there's something about one of my mentors taught me one time. He's like, hey, how you, I can't remember the exact phrase, like, how you sell is how you buy, or how you buy is also how people buy from you. And that alone has gone a long way. Like if I go out to eat and I'm leaving a tip, instead of leaving like the least amount, like I try to leave the most that I possibly can every single time I go out, because there's something about like, then when people come and buy from you later, they see the value in what you're doing. And I think if you're always trying to find the cheapest way out, or you're always looking for the best deal, like somehow that's how people end up perceiving you when you're selling what it is that you are.
Well, it's inauthentic. It's inauthentic. So if in one domain of your life you're being hard on people who are trying to add value, and then the next hour you're on a consult with somebody and you're doing the same behavior, it's inauthentic.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I love that philosophy that you have.
Brian, I always encourage people, especially in kind of their formative years, let's call it the first 10 years of practice, to, record themselves in consultations when people are in their office, because people say, well, I'm a little uncomfortable, or I start talking dental, or I get, I'm able to connect. And I think this is a muscle that you can build just like any muscle. So I'm like, hey, record yourself and then go listen and audit what you would have said differently or done differently, or, in hindsight, 2020. This speaks, when you can put up 10 reps a day in a consultation in a virtual scenario, it's actually better than recording, because you can do it and you can be like, I didn't like what I said there, I'm going to record again.
Yep.
But it is a muscle that you're building. So what makes you better in the digital world is going to make you better in the analog world as well.
Great point.
Right? And so it's like,
it's just reps.
The same.
Many of us are lucky if we get 1 or 2 consults a week.
It's the
now
same
you
muscle.
can do 6 a day. It's
so
great.
Let's say your success ratio of those 10 was 0. I would argue that you're in life. Let's just say you got whatever. No one enrolled from that, or no one came in. I would argue that your success ratio in real life, in the analog world, was much better because of the reps you're doing. So I don't know. I'd love to hear how that kind of psychology has crafted. I mean, was that kind of a benefit? You're like, man, I'm really good at this, and I'm efficient at it, and I'm connecting with all sorts of people, the engineer and the mother and the school teacher. I'm connecting with all of these kind of avatars, and that's the mastery level. When you don't have a script, when you can go in and say, hey, I know what this person's hot button is right now because of what they've said, or, because engineers speak different. I'm going with that. Like, you always talk about the DISC profile, and it's like, they all have a different sales process. When you can become a chameleon, so to speak, through repetition in your consultation, and kind of find what speaks to that person, that is like the mastery level of enrollment, in my opinion.
Yeah. What happens when you're recording an asynchronous video consult, where it's like you're recording and sending, you record when you have time, you send it, they watch when they have time. The genius of that process is, because it's not live, they can't ask questions. You don't really know what they want. Mm-hmm. So what happens is it sets you free to share everything. And so in the consults, I just got so used to saying like, hey, you know what? I know it's kind of a little unique because you can't talk back to me and ask questions. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't even like really know what you want. I don't know what your budget is. I don't know, where you're at with everything right now. So if it's okay with you, I would like to share everything. And then you process that and you decide what makes the most sense for you. So recording virtually has taught me how to like set myself free and not feel like I have to sell anything. So now what happens when they come in the chair, my rule is like, I want everybody to go through a video consult first before they see me in person.
Wow.
If they see me in person, sometimes they'll sneak through where they didn't have time to send in the video consult, or they sent it, but they didn't watch it. I mean, there's times where still people will come through that haven't watched it. I kind of start my consults the same way now. I'm like, you know what I don't want to do is I don't want to spend this time trying to figure out exactly what you want, what your budget is. Like, it would like totally set me free if I could just share everything. If I think it will benefit you, I'm going to share it with you. That only works in the end if like you just be real direct and honest with me about what it is that you want to do, because we can do anything. But let me just share everything, and then you decide.
So your team, if someone's like, hey, I've heard about Dr. Brian, and they're calling, I want to get a consultation, your team will push them, hey, did you know we have the virtual consultation? They will push them there first.
they'll schedule an in-person, say, hey, we've got something scheduled 3 weeks out, you'll have an hour with him during that time. And we'll talk on this next episode, we'll talk about the Smile Test Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Do that at every in-person consult. So they'll schedule that and they'll say, you know what, before you come in for that, I'm going to send you a link and you can upload some smile photos. Dr. Harris loves to be able to send you a video before you come in. It will help you decide what it is that you want to do.
How many people, when they come in, Brian, are like, I'm good, I'm ready to go?
They already know everything.
Yeah.
They know the cost. They know everything. So
yeah. That was one of the reasons why I always pushed.
By the way, so good.
Before having virtual stuff, Brian. Sorry.
You talked about like, how do you stay passionate about doing something? I think the way you stay passionate is like, you take that friction out, you make it so that you can have the most fun doing the procedures that you truly love doing. And for me, what would take the fun out of it was just the not knowing, feeling like I was trying everything I could, but still having people not move forward with treatment. So the way you make it fun is just like, not make it so difficult. It doesn't have to be so difficult. Just let people know what they're looking for, then see them in person, and changes everything.
Brian,
I always say, Brian, there's three questions that a consumer is always looking to. Whether, you talked about you as a buyer, Dr. Brian Harris as a buyer is kind of the way you will talk to people, or maybe your mentor said that. And I always think that you got to answer three questions, right? So what is it? You got to answer that. How much does it cost? And then how does it benefit me? And I think if you can speak to all those three things, and I think your template for your consultation does that. But I think what's most important is people are just coming because they want to make their life better in some capacity, right? Like the smiles that you're selling, people are envisioning the date or getting married or more success in their career or feeling more confident, whatever it is, right? Speak to the benefit about what's it going to do. And I think that's just a great place to be. Also, kind of like I mentioned the comment that people said, hey, I'm ready to go. And I loved that because I think that speaks volumes. I just think that's such an ace to be for when a patient says that. It's like a warm fuzzy for you because you did your job. And so like before we were doing a lot of virtual smile consultations, like I would over inundate people on the website, right? So I have these long form content pages of veneers, and it's like a million videos. And I think you can't over educate someone. And so people would come into my consults and be like, I watched all your videos, right? I'm ready to go. And it was like, okay. Right? Like that's such a great place to be, as opposed to starting from 0 and going to 100 every freaking time. I was like, I need video to scale this process. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's the same. Maybe it's the law of reciprocity again.
So true.
I have a question, Brian. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert if you had to categorize yourself?
Or an ambivert or an ambivert.
I ask that question. So a lot of times doctors, they'll say, signing up for the platform, well, I don't know that I could be like you on camera. I don't know that I want to be on camera, but I would say, like, I enjoy connecting with people. I enjoy building relationships. I really do. The older I get, the more like I also enjoy my privacy. I also enjoy, not feeling like I have to go in and build like, it's not a fake relationship, but like the old way of like
rapport, like just
relationship to get to a sale. I don't like that.
Right. That's what my sense was. And I think most doctors are like this, by the way, Brian. Yeah. So I think this tool fits the overwhelming percentage of dentists. I can connect with anybody. I just love to connect in person. It just fuels me. I steal people's energy. I build rapport very easily. Like, oh, you like sushi? I like sushi. But most dentists don't actually have that. So I love the idea that when you do this virtual consult before they actually meet you, you get all the salient points, and there's none of that. And it just shifts the conversation. When the next time they see you, they say, hey, when you said prepare, what do you mean? It's already targeted and direct. It's not like, where do your kids go to school? What's your favorite restaurant? Me too. All that's just skipped because you laser focused and directed the conversation. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Good point,
Greg.
Because it's almost like sometimes I feel guilty because they're there and I walk in And within like, we'll talk for like 2 minutes and they're like, then we're like starting the smile test drive, because there's not the need to go and try to do the old, getting to know you thing. It's like they feel
Right.
like they already know you because
Right.
you said a lot in the video. You feel like you kind of know them because
And they
were
have
vulnerable to
questions.
you. Yeah.
You've pre-framed the conversation. Like, we're
Yep.
going to go to dinner. And the most important thing about the dinner is we have to score each of the dishes 1 through 10. You don't show up and
Yeah.
like say like, oh, so where are you from?
But it's
like
asynchronous.
the
And
objective.
I love that he mentioned that, right? It's a unidirectional conversation,
Yes.
right? That
Uninterrupted.
people feel very touched by, meaning you said their name and this is customized for them. So
And he said something very interesting too. He becomes the guide, not just for selling, but let me be your guide. We're going to go through this process to see if I'm the right guy for you.
I love that verbiage.
So it's not like, I want to show you, I went to the procedures, I got millions of smiles. It's like, hey, this is what I would do. This is what I think. This is the journey that we're going to go on. Let me guide you. And you got to determine whether or not you like me being the guy for you, which leaves it open. Like, this guy just gave me like life advice. So it's a very interesting formula.
That's a huge part of the whole process is like you had mentioned there, they're at home, they're watching it from the comfort of their own home, but usually like, who are they watching it with? Watching it with their parents, their grandparents, they're watching it with the
spouse,
financial decision maker.
Right.
And so important. We underestimate. I mean, when you think about it, if you go to a plastic surgeon's office and you ask for a menu of all the things that they offer, most of the things are 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. Yeah, if you get into some crazy full like mommy makeover stuff, like maybe it gets into that 25,000, 30,000. Like, so you look at other professions and their most expensive thing, sometimes it's like half of our most expensive thing.
I know.
So it's no wonder that, I mean, we've gotten to the point now where we think of like Invisalign as like a simple procedure. I'm like, it's like $6,500 procedure. That's like an expensive.
Yeah, it's a nose job.
Yeah, but yet we just hand them a Dentrix printout, and we're wondering why their spouse doesn't think they need it. So it just the
Dentrix treatment plan. Here you go. Here's the code. Isn't this a compelling reason to enroll? Here's your Dentrix
and a little red marker on the bottom that you want to do 10% off and hand it over to them. But it's true. Yeah, the decision maker is usually
only if they send a wire.
Yeah, but by the way, I would say of consults, it is extremely rare that someone will bring the decision maker with them. So they'll never get the information. They'll never get it.
I love this.
The number of, this is all really about before they come in the practice, and the number of consults we've been able to close just from being able to get in front of whoever they're making that financial decision with. And a lot of times, like it's parents, and maybe it's not even that the parents are paying for it, but it's that parents or friends or spouse, like just as like, maybe it's their own money, but they still have someone on their ear of like, you don't want to do that, or it sounds like you're getting ripped off. Or so you just show up authentically yourself. And I tell doctors all the time, hey, if you feel, I've had some that are super awkward on camera, and I'm like, good, own it, and just tell them right up front, hey, this isn't my thing. I don't love being in front of a camera, but I'm doing this for you because it's like I want you to know it's possible. And when you see me in person, it'll be less awkward, I promise. But
like, guess what? That awkwardness, repetitions is the antidote for awkwardness. I've seen it time and time again with these associates that I've hired.
Oh yeah.
And
we do. Good. We watch their first videos versus their 10th video. It's true.
Shit, even mine. Like I look back at some of the stuff I was filming in 2005, and it was the cringiest stuff you've ever seen. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, how did this work? Why did this work?
Yeah.
That's so true.
Brian, I'm trying to, I'm making sure we cover it off because our next pod, we're going to get into the actual consultation, right? And some of the tactics and things you do there when the patient is in the chair. Anything else you want to add to, can I mention one thing, right? Yeah. So we talked about Scottsdale, right? Very concentrated area. So if you're a dentist listening to this and you are in a metro area that has competition, and I teach this in kind of marketing, Brian, and this is unrelated to virtual consultations, but bear with me for a second. In a sea of sameness, right, it's very hard to stick out, right? If you're one of 2,000 cosmetic dentists in Scottsdale, like, how do you win? How do you win? And either your ads, or do you have to have the best Google ads? That's probably not compelling, right? Does your website, is the best website? That's okay. Yeah, probably it's going to help you a little bit, right? People checking your reviews, that's going to help a little bit, right? So it's not this like one mode, right? And then you look at your website, you have tons of videos. But like in a sea of sameness, like find blue ocean opportunities. And I think this is such a blue ocean strategy where, right, because not many people, I know your software is popular, but not many people are offering it as you look at the total population of dentists across the nation. So like just adding this means to me, if I saw this on a plastic surgeon's website and it was like, do the virtual consultation and like, I'll spend my time, like that would, to me, I would feel empathy, meaning that doctor feels empathy towards me. He's reaching out and I'm not going to pay him. Like, it's such a good differentiator is where I'm going. Craig, help me with this because I'm mixing my words, but like, it's all these contributing factors. Like, do you have videos on your website? Do you have good reviews? Are you updating your website?
You gotta do it all. It's got
all of it. It's the big audit that a patient is going through to say, where am I going to spend my precious time and money? And I think this is the cherry that you're like, holy shit, I'm going to get a custom video from this. By the time you send a custom video,
we've done this in our own Bulletproof. Peter's been a big fan of this. When we were doing early masterminders, we would find people that we liked and we would actually send them our own videos. We've done the very same tactic. It's incredibly valuable. And that's the thing. It's like you could spend tons of money and time building that that pay-per-click. But at the end of the day, you're slipping into the sea of sameness because you got the same 20 characters to convey a message.
And as Brian mentioned, in an era where automation is about to go crazy, where everyone's looking for the AI and the automation and the digital receptionist, people are going to start longing and craving for that contact point, right? That intimacy, that contact point, and especially from the doctor who's going to be delivering care. So like, Brian, I feel like this becomes, in a world where the computers are going to do the shit we don't really want to do, this becomes like just ever more important.
Yeah. And I think what doctors need to understand is it doesn't have to be a time suck. It doesn't have to be complicated. It almost works better if it's short, sweet, and leaves them wanting more. So you gave the example of a plastic surgeon. So I'm thinking so imagine if one of us, like, you see this ab etching procedure, dude. I'm like, dude, I'll do that. Like,
the what?
Yeah, a permanent 6-pack for sure. So imagine like one of us is like,
wait, where do they do this?
Oh, dude, we'll talk after. But if you see me post pictures at the beach next year, just know I had it done.
Okay.
So what happens is, imagine if I submit that to a plastic surgeon site and I got this 20-minute video back from a surgeon that felt like he was trying to sell me and he felt desperate. I would almost be like, he wants the sale more than I do. So like, I'm not interested. But imagine if he sent me a video back and was like, Brian, I've got 2 minutes before my next surgery. So I'm not going to be able to go over everything. Here's what I can tell you. You're a great candidate for it. Yeah. You're going to need about a week to recover. This is kind of the ideal, it would be about, I don't even know. It's going to be about $12,000 to do it. There's different ways to pay for that. My team can help you with that. But just know, like, great candidate for it. Would love to work with you. Would love to spend time with you, but I've got people to see. Have a great day. It almost works better if it's just like direct to the point. Let them know if you can help them.
Yep.
Give them a couple quick examples of what it could look like, and then just say, when you're ready, reach out. We'll take great care of you. So I think that's what I want doctors to understand is they're not selling. You're not treatment planning.
Yeah. It's not the entire consult in one fell swoop.
Here's who I am. Yes, you're a great candidate. Would love to work with you. And I wish I had all this time to give you, but I just don't because I'm busy over here doing the thing.
The thing that you're consulting about.
Yeah.
I love this. This is so good. It's so good. God.
It is good. And the only thing I want to, the software is incredible. The value proposition to your patients is incredible. The hard part here is just getting into the dentist's brain and really helping them understand why this is so important for them to do, like holistically.
Just getting off zero, Craig.
Yeah,
too.
it's so important that, if there's one takeaway, I want to just help dentists understand that you are in control of the success that you create. And it's just little behaviors, whether it's this or the post-op phone call. Everyone wants the easy button. Everybody comes to Bulletproof to say, what's the Yelp hack? What's the marketing hack? Like, oh, you just have to do this. It's so easy. Like we talked to my buddy Randy, like when Randy found out the lifetime value of a patient, he's like, every time a patient becomes 18 months and 1 day inactive, he's like, I would pick up the phone and call them as a dentist. He's like, if I knew the lifetime value, but no one does this.
Yeah, because
no dentist ever says, hey, Mrs. Jones, it's Dr. Spodak. I just want to make sure you're getting your dental care taken care of. And if there's anything we can do to earn back your business, we'd love to see you. Or maybe you just forgot, we'd love to welcome you back. No one would ever do that. And this is like of the same vein. I want people to understand that they can create the success that they yearn for just by doing something repeated, small time commitment. I mean, you do a lot. I mean, how much time do you spend per day, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I usually get here early in the morning, and it's not like I'm recording 10 consults a day, but I usually try to get in, just try to hit a couple a day before the day starts, and then I'll do more on like Thursdays. I reserve those days for working on the business.
Oh, cool.
And it's just part of the flow.
Yeah, I mean, so for us mere mortals, it probably means like 2 or 3 a week. It's 10 or 15 minutes a week. And that can categorically change your practice.
Change your practice.
Totally change your practice.
Yeah, imagine what, let's go to the ratio. Imagine what if you're doing 2 or 3 a week, that's adding, by Brian's ratio, probably when you're good at it, a case a week. Imagine what adding a case a week to your bottom line looks like. What? Like crazy shit.
Yeah. We used to run the numbers and tell people like, oh, if you just do 1 4-unit case, it'll pay for the whole stuff for you. Because it is, I think we as dentists, there's so many little $300 and $400 a month software programs that we start feeling like, man, is any of this even working? And so we used to take that strategy of I'd try to like convince people. And now I'm like, we don't even do that anymore. It's just like, listen, if what you're doing right now, if you're having those same feelings that I was having, where like you're leaving the room and you're like, yes, I closed them, and then they don't schedule, or you're like feeling like you're out of control of your own success. It's more just the idea of like, hey, the monthly cost is insignificant.
It's negligible. Yeah.
The freedom of just like not having to sell anything anymore and just having people wanting to buy is it's a different world to live.
So nice.
I want to say something about the tech stack you're saying. It's so funny you say that, because I think we go to a conference, we add this. And then like marketing, we don't turn it off because we don't know if it's working, if it's not working, right? This has a direct correlation. I would argue that you could titrate down your marketing spend by whatever the software costs. So what does it cost for a single office, Brian? I should know, but like I don't handle this anymore.
Yeah, typically it's $3.99 a month, and then there's like a setup fee. I think we haven't talked directly yet about doing something for Bulletproof members. I think we should, All
right. Well, then just type in, we haven't talked about a code, but the code will be Bulletproof if this is coming out. Just try it. Go there and type in Bulletproof as your referral code, and then you'll get something special per Brian.
And so let me tell you why I'm willing to do that. It's not about devaluing what we do. It's not about like valuing like the product that we put out there. It's all about like, I've just learned over the years, like, I think it was John Wooden that said it, but it was like, it's much easier to take someone who already knows how to win and just show them how to win more than take somebody who doesn't know how to win and teach them to win. And I feel like there's certain groups that this really works well for. And I think Bulletproof is a perfect example of like,
totally.
It's doctors that already know how to win. They're just like, hey, let me just like, show me how to win more.
Yeah.
So I can continue to enjoy this. And so it's like, yeah, those are the type of people that we try to attract to the platform. I'm less interested in the doctor out there that is like, pointing the blame at everybody else and never in control of their own success. Like,
this doesn't work. You hear that, right? And so it's the finger pointer, right? My marketing doesn't work. Actually, it does. Your phones are the thing that doesn't work, kind of thing.
Yeah,
You know,
get your phone to ring. You're just not doing anything with it. It's so true because listen, if you take on the wrong person, the one that's always doesn't know how to win, the software is not going to do anything for you. The software is a tool for those who that are hungry to use it.
Exactly.
and if you don't play full out with it, meaning if you just buy it and put it on your website and you're not promoting it internally and on your socials and getting your team and doing some marketing that's driving it to that landing page, again, Craig, to your point, it's not a magic button. You have to commit to the process. And Brian's so good. He gets inbound phone calls of people wanting to schedule, and his team's like, hey, let's put you virtual first. Even though you want to become analog, let's put you virtual first, right? Because he's seen the success. And if that's not the best data point I've ever heard for the software, amazing. Because you have the data that that things work better when you can send an asynchronous consultation. I love that.
For sure. Well, I'm excited for the next.
Yeah, man, it's
episode.
so good.
We'll dive into all the things like once they're in the practice, and I think it'll just continue this conversation. It'll be great.
Love it.
Hey, Brian,
love
before I let you go, I had this piece of I just wanted to find out the rest of the story. So you wound up with all these offices. You went back to one. What did you wind up doing with the others? What happened to those?
So we ended up selling them just one at a time to our associates that were working there.
Oh, cool.
Sometimes I look back and I'm like, why didn't we roll it up? We could have sold them all as one. And at the time, what I realized was I had great doctors working there. And I'm like, if I could just get back to my main practice and focus on the things that I love, that's where I'm going to make the most amount of money, but also where I'm going to be the happiest. And it did. I mean, we, at that point when we had 5, my Phoenix office was doing maybe 4.5 million alone. And we just hit 10 million this last year. And it's the same space. We did add one additional associate than what we had before, but it's just like, I think people underestimate the value of like, just do what you love to do it really well, and, make that your focus, and it can really impact the overall success of the practice.
Yeah. I love that quote that says success is not only getting what you want, but liking what you get. And a lot of people are just trying to get what they think they want, but they wind up getting it and they're not happy with it. So how many doctors in this existing practice?
So it's myself, my brother Scott is my partner. My dad has since retired. And then we have 3 associate doctors that work. They all work kind of part-time.
Sweet.
2 of them work 3 days a week each. One of them works 2 days a week.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on all that you've created and the fact that you're still serving not only your patients, but you're trying to help us dentists. So that's awesome, buddy. We really appreciate the people like you who are dedicated to the profession and helping us.
And, Brian, I think it's never too early to mention that, next year, Summit 2026 is going to be in your hometown, and we are pushing hard on you to be our speaker at the Phoenician. So we haven't even gotten past this summit, which I know you're going to be in Alaska. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I take my wife and kids to Alaska probably every 2 years.
I'm dying to do that, by the way. So we need to offline. I need to get some notes on that journey.
Abs in Alaska for Boulden.
I tell you,
man.
That's
the
group
chat.
I already wrote it down.
I'm bummed I couldn't be there. I know how amazing your guys' meeting is, but for sure, 2026, it's on my calendar. I'm absolutely looking forward to it.
Good. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. All right. So everyone stay tuned for part 2 with Dr. Brian Harris. And we are going to be going over the art of enrollment, right? All the secret sauce is going to be delivered. And Brian, thanks so much for your time, buddy. And we'll see you guys next time.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.